Hi, everybody. My name is Ray Martinez. I have been a personal trainer for over about 10 years. So I started practicing personal training 10 years ago. A little bit about my backstory is I started as a boot camp instructor here in Rancho. So, you know, right after high school, I wasn't the most outgoing person. In fact, I was super shy in high school. I didn't really have my speaking voice quite yet, but I took a chance and I challenged myself by becoming a boot camp instructor. And that was helpful because it helped me really find my voice and it got me to learn how to work with people in big groups. But the challenge that I came across was I was finding that, when we were doing these workouts, it was very just this kind of like, get in here, we're going to kick your butt kind of model, high intensity workouts. And it wasn't until, years later that I started to learn more of the holistic approach to health and fitness. And I remember taking some early courses on where I was in San Diego, where we were taking a course on learning about, more holistic methods. And I was just astonished to learn about how nutrition plays a role in our health and how important sleep is. If we're not getting enough sleep, it doesn't matter if we have the best workout in the world, it's not going to make really a big difference. And, a lot of us right now, especially during these times, are really stressed out. So not being able to manage our stress and trying to pile that on with these high intensity workouts, I found that people, not only were they not seeing results, but they reported even feeling a little bit worse than where they started. So more pain, maybe they gained even more weight from where they started. So we started to put this puzzle together of saying, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not just exercise. Exercise is super important, and that's what really we're going to talk today most about is getting more movement, getting more exercise in. But I wanted to paint this picture of how this learning this holistic method really changed my approach, and it changed the way my clients saw themselves and the results that they started to see when they started doing training. So today we are talking about how to find balance with movement and how to start to incorporate movement, especially because we were talking a little bit earlier, is how do we get more movement when we're not really feeling like exercising, right? When our motivation is down. Someone shared a little bit earlier, does it count as resistance training when we don't want to go to the gym? That's a little bit, we're resisting going to the gym. Does that count as resistance training? And so we're going to talk a little bit today about how to make that process a little bit easier. So my goal for you is if you're watching this video, I want you to leave saying, hey, you know what? I'm more inspired today than where I was. And I'm more confident that I can start exercising a little bit more. Okay. So that's a little bit of my background. And we're going to keep today a little bit of a conversation style. I'm going to encourage you guys to give me your input. And I'm going to start with our slide today that we created. So I believe I can share my screen. Let's try this out. See if I still remember how to do this. I'm going to present. Okay, and then for you guys, share screen. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go here. It's already on my Canva account. Present. All right, perfect. All right, so that's already a little bit more about me, who I am. I'm a movement specialist / holistic lifestyle coach. So again, it's not just exercise that I help my clients with. It's teaching them how to eat. It's teaching them how to sleep better. It's helping them manage their stress. Maybe it's through breath work. It's really individual in terms of what does a person need that we're working with. Okay. And so today we're talking about movement again, how to find balance with movement, how to use movement to find more balance in life. So a little description, a little definition of movement. Movement equals life. When we're moving, we're living. We're able to do the things that we enjoy doing. Maybe some of you guys have hobbies that you like to do, and being able to have an exercise routine, being able to move regularly is going to help you continue to live your most creative life and be able to do the things that you enjoy doing. So the question isn't can I get more movement? It's how. How do I get more movement throughout the day? So the biggest challenges to getting more movement include lack of time, energy, and knowledge. And this might surprise some of you who are watching. They did a survey for the city of Rancho Cucamonga, and they asked, what's the biggest barrier to getting more physical activity? And the number one was time. And the number two was energy. So we find that the biggest challenge people face is this perception of, I don't really have enough time. Maybe they're working two jobs, or maybe they're trying to juggle feeding their family, taking care of the kids, going to work. And then at the end of the day, it's, oh, there goes my entire day. I couldn't find time to go to the gym. So after today's presentation, I'm going to share with you some tips that you can do to find better ways to manage your time, so that way you can get more movement throughout the day, and that's going to be better for you. Okay, and so I'm going to share with you the 1, 2, 3 approach to movement, and we're going to cover number one, it's a concept we call the one love. Number two is the two forces. Number three is the three choices that we can make, and then number four is the four doctors. So starting out, how can we make exercise more, or let's say, how can we improve our motivation to exercise? Because I know some of us are struggling with that right now. So for that one, we look towards our one love. It's also called our one dream. It's our overarching legacy. It's our main goal, objective, whatever you'd like to call it. It's going to be, what is the thing that we love the most that we're willing enough to change for? So it's about finding your one love. Now for that one, there's a couple of questions on how do I find my dream? We can ask, what three things could I add into my life to make it more fulfilling? So as I mentioned just right now, some of us might have specific hobbies that we enjoy doing. Sometimes we put those things on the back burner, right? When we find that life tends to get a little busy, maybe we're more focused on work right now, and you think, man, it's been forever since I've done hiking, and I really love being outdoors. And so maybe hiking is your thing, spending time camping, spending time with your family. I know I have one client, I was just speaking with her recently, and she loves kayaking. Like that's her thing. So for kayaking, she's made it a priority to schedule that. Every month she tries to go out and get more time out in the water. And for her, that's joyful for her. And so that encourages her to stick with an exercise routine because she has something to train for. Another question is, what are you good at naturally that you enjoy doing? For example, I don't know if you guys have heard of pickleball. If you have, maybe raise your hand. If you've heard of pickleball, it's kind of
that's like a new phenomenon, isn't it?
It's one of the fastest growing sports in America. And I have to tell you something, I got hooked to it. So the first time I played, I was like, yeah, this is actually really fun. And I enjoyed it so much that I bought my own pair of paddles the same day. And so I've been playing that for over a year now, and I've made a lot of new friends by doing it. It motivates me to get up in the morning to go play because really I have fun doing that. And so it might be different for everybody. Some people might like to do martial arts. Some people might like to go spend time in their garden, and that's a good way to get more physical activity throughout the day. But it's something I encourage, is find something that you really like doing, and maybe you haven't done it for a while, or maybe it's something that you haven't tried yet, but you're kind of interested in. I'm going to invite you to maybe write down 2 to 3 things that you really enjoy doing and that you're kind of good at. Quick pause. I'm curious if anyone here is open to sharing what's something that is joyful for them.
I'll go.
Yeah, let's hear it.
For me, what's super joyful and what's been giving me such peace is the parks with my kids, going to the park with my kids. Every morning I'll take breaks because they don't go to school all at the same time, so they'll get individualized time with me, by doing those little escapes to the park. So that gives me joy right now.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you get a little exercise, chasing them around the park as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Outside of that, of course, definitely.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. How about you, May?
I have a once a week dance party with my grandkids. My granddaughters are like, they love being in performance and singing and jumping and dancing and all of that. So I get into that because I know it's a movement for me, and it makes me really happy.
Awesome. What kind of dances or what kind of music do you like dancing to?
Whatever they play, I try and move with them and dance with them, and where
Yeah,
we're at.
that's very sweet. I love that. Yeah, and so dancing is actually a really good workout because you're doing it, you're having fun, and at the end of it, your heart rate's up a little bit more, and it's a really good form of movement. It's very joyful. So I love that you have that. And so for some of you guys also listening, as you hear some of these, you're keep in mind this isn't, you know, exercise in the sense of going to the gym and jumping on a treadmill. These are still forms of movement that can still be joyful because you're getting up, you're on your feet, and you're moving your body. So, as I mentioned, find 2 or 3 things that you haven't done for a while and you want to start incorporating into your routine. So these are some questions that we can ask ourselves. And again, when we have a dream, if we have something to point at, we know that what we need to do every day to make that happen. So it's more motivational when we have a goal to aim for. That's why goals are very important. So we always start out with what is our one dream? I'll encourage you guys to write that out for yourselves and put that on paper. And then once we have that overarching dream, we know what our goal is, we know what we're aiming for, then we can start to look at the 2 forces. Okay. So for the 2 forces, this is where we're really talking about the concept of balance. You might be able to see behind me on my screen. I don't know if you guys can see. If you click on my screen where I'm talking out on the presentation, you'll see behind me I have my yin and yang symbol here on my wall. It's one of my favorite wall hangings here at my studio, and I often refer to it a lot when I'm working with clients because what we have to remember is the body is always looking for homeostasis. So what that means is the body is looking for our equilibrium of being in balance between pushing too hard in a workout or not working out enough, or for too hot or too cold. We're always trying to find that center where health lives. If we're ever out of balance for too long, especially when you think of in the concept of being stressed for too long, well, that's where things such as illness and disease start to grow. So we always want to ask ourselves, how do we find that balance? And the good thing is that we can use movement as a way to create balance in our lives. Okay. And the way we can think of that, we'll break it up into this little slide I made right here. Life is a constant balancing act. This can be applied to anything. Let's take, for an example, exercising versus over-exercising. Consider a person who is just extremely stressed. So maybe think back to a time too when you were feeling really stressed. You had a lot of projects due for work. You had to juggle that with trying to eat healthy and trying to make time to go to the gym. You were just really stressed out. So for that, we want to consider what ways can we use movement to manage our stress. Does that mean that we have to go and do a super intense hard workout? Or is there ways that we can use movement to do more of a lighter movement, so that way we're just getting the body to move, we're getting the joints to move, and we're taking care of everything in between the organs and our skeletal health and the muscles. So with that, I'm going to share a concept that I call working in. Now, with working in, there's two different forms of training that I cover with my clients. There's working in and there's working out. So we have here our parasympathetic nervous system and our sympathetic nervous system. Now, if you guys maybe recall that from science class way back in the day, our sympathetic nervous system deals with our fight or flight, our stress response. Most people right now are very in a sympathetic state of being, where they're very on edge, chronic stress is very high. And so what we often want to work on is how can we improve our parasympathetic nervous system, which deals with rest and recovery. And so we can look towards doing more exercising that's considered working in. And some factors that relate to working in includes the body gets to rest and recover. Our breathing and heart rate stay low. So although you're moving, we're able to calm our heart rate down, because oftentimes what's happening is it's beating really fast when we're stressed, and that's not good for our heart health and not good for our health overall. Also with working in, it helps improve our digestion. Our energy increases. Now we can compare that to working out exercise. So imagine lifting weights or going for a run. This thing can help. There's benefits for working out specifically, which your strength can increase, your cardio output improves. You can get stronger with bone density. That's one that many people don't know about when they practice strength training. Is actually good for our bone health. And then we can also improve our metabolism, which is good as we start to age and get older. And then I'm going to share with you the differences between the two, because you might be asking, well, what exercises count as working in and which ones count as working out? So examples of working in, I have some pictures here on the slide. If you look on the top left, we have a group practicing Tai Chi, or there's also a form of training called Qigong, where it's very slow movement and you're working with your breath. That one's very popular among the elderly, but really Tai Chi is good for anybody who is in a very high stress state, because again, you're getting the body to pump, you're moving the joints, and it just feels really good afterwards. Another one includes walking. So you can go for a light walk. That's not something that's going to increase your heart rate very much. But I don't know if you guys have ever noticed a difference when you go on a very long walk compared to not moving at all. Do you guys tend to feel a little better going on a walk? Yeah, right. Big time. And then we have stretching, things such as yoga, doing some light stretching, going outdoors. This is a good example of working in. And then you look on the bottom right, you see someone painting, and you might be thinking, is that really an exercise? Well, yeah, you're moving your body. You know, you have to move your arms, and it's working your shoulders, and it's not something that's, going to stress the body out too much, but it's a way that you're moving your hands, and it's a good way to increase your movements as well. Some things such as May shared a little bit earlier, she dances with her grandkids, and that's another form of movement that can turn into a workout, of course, if you pick a really good song that's fast paced. Examples of working out, we have things such as using resistance bands, you're taking some fitness classes, you're going for a jog, you're doing some swimming, or you're going on a spin bike. There's many forms of working out. We mentioned strength training earlier. You can lift some weights. So a lot of the clients that I work with, strength training is really a cornerstone to what we do here, because it's so beneficial for the body, helping with improved bone density, helping to combat mental illnesses and things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And then also it improves our lean muscle tissue, which that translates over into an improved metabolism. So these are some examples of working out compared to working in. If I were to ask you guys, what would be considered working in? Can someone give me an example of a working in exercise that I didn't cover? It could be anything. It's a little pop quiz for you. You didn't know I was going to quiz you today.
Well, doing chair exercises.
Doing chair exercises?
Yeah.
Can you give me an example, like stretching on the chair?
Yeah. I live in a senior facility, and we do 30 minutes of chair exercises every day. And so it's from head to toe, actually, starting with head and shoulders, and then arms and legs and twisting and all of that. So it really covers the whole body, even though you're sitting in a chair.
Got you. So it sounds like it's a full body workout for you. Let me ask you, how do you feel when you're done with that?
Very much better than I did when I started.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I love that you're doing that, Barbara. And you know what? Barbara made a good point. Afterwards, she feels better after movement. And there's people who, when they think of working out, they think that they have to feel super sore. They have to feel like, man, I really kicked my butt today. I'm really tired. Although that's, sometimes it's a good feeling when we do that. But movement can make you feel, especially if it's working in, it should make you feel like you have more energy once you're done with that. So that's a great example of working in. Thank you, Barbara. Can someone give me an example of working out, something that maybe I didn't mention?
Well, what I do is I walk, but I walk long walks, like 6,000, 7,000 steps at a time. Okay. So that is, it's not really fast, but at the same time, at times I feel like a little sweaty, but it's consistent. It's not like slow walking. It's a good pace. My goal is 6,000 to 7,000 steps, and then I'm done.
Got you. That's a good example, May. So what May was sharing right now is that she does walking, but to the point where it's actually a workout, where she's sweating. I'm guessing her heart rate's going up a little bit as she goes for that distance. So yeah, so you can find that an exercise like walking, it could be a work-in exercise, but you can also turn it into a workout. Another way to do that is to do walking incline. So maybe you're walking and doing some hiking trails up in the mountain. That's definitely going to turn that into a workout, another good form of conditioning for the body. But that gives you an example of different ways that you can incorporate movement into your day, where you can ask yourself, do I need more working in time? Am I stressed today? Is my heart rate just really high? And do I need a little bit more maybe like a chair workout like Barbara was mentioning? Do I need that? Or do I need a little bit more of a workout today just to strengthen my muscles? These are questions that you can start asking yourselves every day. And it's good to have that conversation with yourself. So thank you guys for sharing.
Ray, I'd like to share my, and I'd like to say hello to everyone. I apologize for being late, but thank you so much for your presentation. I have a lot of background noise, so excuse me for just turning this off after I'm done. But I wanted to share what really worked for me after years and years of signing up in gyms and doing, planning to do things with friends and finding a walking partner and all of that. So finally, I think the elliptical equipment that I bought and put in front of my TV where I can watch the news in the morning, got myself into the habit of getting up a little earlier, do my prayers, do my elliptical, and then at the same time, I'm checking my emails and moving my arms. Sometimes I have my little breakfast, as I'm walking on those inclines. It really is a multi-purpose thing, and it makes me feel good that I've done my exercise. And it used to be that it would bring me to a sweat, but I think I've built up resistance now where I'm not even feeling it. So I probably have to, turn the inclines a little bit, maybe stronger. But is that something you explained, or I just didn't know if I'm walking into the middle of something you've already introduced?
Sure. Also, so hey, hi, by the way, hello, good to see you again. Thank you for joining today. Just so I understand your question specifically, you're asking kind of the difference of when you have when you do an exercise, but it gets to a point where it's no longer, making you sweat, or it's not really as intense as it was.
Yeah, kind of. Is it still working? I mean, I'm still like hitting 5 miles and about 500 calories. So I just don't know. Do I need to change the routine, or is that good enough? Oh God, I can't.
Yeah, no, great question. And I would answer that question with another question in terms of what exactly you want to ask yourself. What is the outcome that I want? So you're getting to a point where that's becoming easy for you. So maybe if your goal was maintenance and you wanted to maintain where you're at, you feel good, your energy levels are fine, that would be good to keep it. But if you want to maybe increase your endurance or stamina, then you can say, okay, well, now I want to increase the challenge of this specific exercise. So maybe for you, it's going a little bit longer on your bike, or maybe it's increasing the resistance. So yeah, so to answer your questions, it just really depends on what you want. If you want to stay where you're at, movement's good overall. That's great that you have that routine. And then we'll also get into how do you equipment and what equipment that you can use and implement in your home. So
okay.
I hope that gave you a little more clearer idea.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thank you. I'll be listening.
Of course, perfect. Thank you. Before I move on to the next one, anyone else have questions on working out versus working in? That was a good question. Okay, we're gonna go to the next step. Before though, let's go ahead and let's see. Yeah, okay, cool. Before we go into the third one, pop quiz, guys. What's number one? We find our
Joy.
Yep, joy, one love, your big dream, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, perfect. So your joy. Number two, we have our two. What do I call it?
Well, balance.
Balance, or our two forces. So our one love, our two forces. And now we have our three choices that we make every single day. This is an important concept to consider, because when I'm working with clients, especially early on, they adopt that language of, oh, you know what, I made a bad choice today. I didn't exercise. I watched Netflix instead. There was that new show and I just had to see that new episode. And I was eating some chips on the couch, and I made some bad decisions. So we like to limit or reframe the words that we say, because when we make when we make bad choices, that often comes at a subconscious level of that we're bad people because we made a bad choice. So there's a lot of guilt behind that. So what I invite my clients to do is reframe how they speak with themselves. So every day I remind them that we always make 3 different decisions or 3 choices. One's a suboptimal choice, one's indifference, and one's optimal. And so let's go into that a little bit more. So we have to remember that physical activity is a choice. Whether we do it or not, we're always making a decision. So consider a suboptimal choice. This is seen as a positive choice in the moment, but it's not beneficial for everyone on your dream team, your spouse, your children, your friends. So for example, watching Netflix, watching a good show is really good in the moment, right? Especially if it's a good show. I know sometimes Netflix doesn't have the best stuff on it. And maybe you're having some chips or you're eating some ice cream. That feels really good in the moment, but does that relate to your dream or your goal that you were thinking about a little bit earlier of what are you trying to achieve? Is missing out on your workouts going to help you get a little bit closer? Probably not. So that's more of a suboptimal choice that we made. The other choice is an indifference choice. So this is the do nothing at all. This is the, oh, I don't really care phase. I don't really care about my health. I don't care about my fitness. This is completely indifferent. And some people feel overwhelmed with information on what to do, and they can't come to a conclusion on a choice to make. So they're more indifferent to it. And then we have an optimal choice. This choice is the one that supports our values. It supports that dream that you've decided for yourself. So maybe for you, that's not watching TV at a certain time at night. In the evening, you say, you know, this is the time that I focus on getting to bed and getting good sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I have more energy to do my workout, and I'm less likely to skip my workout in the morning. Well, you just made an optimal choice. So I invite you guys to consider what optimal choices can we make this week and maybe even today. What's an optimal choice that I can make? I'm going to open it up for a moment. And can you guys share with me what's an optimal choice that you might have made this past week? And it might not even be related to fitness, right? It doesn't have to be a workout that you did. Maybe it's something that you ate, or maybe it was a kind word that you said to somebody. I want you to share with me what's an optimal choice that you made, if you're willing to. I'm willing to bet you guys made one optimal choice as of lately. And if not, that's okay. I can share one of mine. So this past week, I mentioned that, I really enjoy playing pickleball. Yes, it was actually yesterday. I got really good sleep. I made sure that, there was a moment where I was deciding, should I stay up a little bit later than I do? But I decided to get more sleep. So when I woke up, I actually played a fun game, and I was able to see my friends. So that was an optimal choice that I made. So what I want you guys to do, if you're watching this at home, if you're watching this later on YouTube, is write down and ask yourself, what optimal choices can I make that's going to contribute to my overall dream? Okay, so we have our 3 choices. And then we have our 4 doctors. So let's pop quiz again, guys. What's our one?
Your one choice, your joyful choice.
One love.
One love, yeah, one choice, one love, one joy. Number 2 is our 2.
It was the balance, but you
2 forces. And then
forces.
the 3
choices.
3 choices. And now we come to our 4 doctors. And my clients love learning about the 4 doctors because it's a very easy concept to understand and to remind yourself is, what does your body need? Sometimes we can, it's easy to get lost in the things that what we might need, a lot of conflicting information, especially online these days. But whenever we feel out of balance, we always want to consult with our 4 natural doctors. So that's our doctor diet that includes the types of foods that we're eating throughout the day. Is the meal that I'm having in front of me helping me increase my energy? Is it helping me improve my strength when I do my workouts? Is it making me feel full, or when I eat, do I tend to feel really hungry afterwards, or am I emotional eating? Okay, so that's doctor diet. Dr. Quiet is in charge of our rest and recovery. So that deals with everything in terms of what's the best time for me to get good sleep? What time do I need to go to bed to feel my best? What time do I need to wake up to feel my best? What does my sleep routine look like right now? Because as I mentioned, that's really important for your energy levels throughout the day. And if you're not getting enough sleep and you're trying to exercise, you're not going to see much change. So we want to make sure that we're prioritizing our rest and recovery. That's how we find balance with our movement. Then we have Dr. Movement. We can ask ourselves questions like, how much working in time do I need throughout the week? How much working out time do I need? And for some of you, you might not have a clear idea. That's okay. This is where you guys can start to become, as I call my clients, they're their own scientist. They create their own theories and they do their own experiments of what makes me feel really good, because not everybody's the same. This is where we start to get more into our holistic practice of, everybody responds to movement differently. So start to ask yourself, what is the best movement that I need right now? What kind of activity do I need? Do I need to do more dancing? Do I like going on walks and that makes me feel really good? So consider some ways that you can start to ask yourself some of these questions with Dr. Movement. And then we have Dr. Happiness. So that involves all of our doing all the things that, make us happy. It's not about being robots in the gym and, doing this workout, going to work, going to bed, and then doing that all over. We want to make sure that we're also living life and doing the things that we enjoy. So I know some of you said being with your kids or dancing is something that you like to do. Consider some things that are happy making for you. And again, this doesn't have to be related to fitness. Maybe you like to read a lot. So maybe you want to buy some more books this year, or maybe you like to go see the movies or go see a museum, and that makes you feel really joyful. Consider some ways that you can start adding more joy into your life to be more balanced. So those are our 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get our 1, 2, 3, 4 model. Now we're going to get more specifically into physical activity because today's a movement talk. So these are some guidelines that are going to be helpful for you guys if you guys see the slide. You might have a question, as I mentioned earlier, how much movement is good for me? And I think this is a really good guideline, at least to start out with, right? So we have here moderate intensity aerobic activity for a minimum of 30 minutes, 5 times per week. So when we say moderate intensity aerobic activity, what are we referring to? Anything really that's getting your heart rate up a little bit. So maybe for you, it's a vigorous walk. Maybe it's going for a jog. Maybe it's doing a little bit more strength training and you're going at a faster tempo. You can do things such as swimming, or as Sohaila mentioned earlier, she has a spin bike that she purchased for her home. That'd be a good way to get aerobic activity throughout the week. Then we have things like resistance training. Resistance exercises for the major muscle groups. So you're working your things like your arms, your legs. You're doing that for 2 times a week. Now for Barbara, as she mentioned, she does a lot of things in the chair during her classes. You can definitely do body weight and make that a resistance exercise. So she's getting some throughout the week, which is great. Flexibility exercises for the major muscle groups. You want to do that for at least 2 times a day. When clients are working for me, they're stretching pretty much every day, and they can fit 5 minutes in to either before bed or when they wake up. I always encourage as much stretching as you can. And I wanted to share with you guys some benefits, especially as we get older. Here's some things, looking at the slide, that happen as we get older. Things such as our muscle strength tends to go down, or the bone mass that we have decreases over time. Our recovery time after exercise goes down, so we tend to be more prone to injury. Our cardio output, our heart rate max starts to go down, even our flexibility. So you might find that over time, you notice that you have a little bit more achy joints and a little bit more stiffness. Maybe your hips aren't as loose as they once were, or your shoulders, and you just find that you're kind of finding these nagging pain happening in your body. So some other things that increase as we age, your blood pressure tends to go up, your body fat goes up, and then your lung volume. So we can definitely find balance, bring these things back to balance when we incorporate exercise. We make exercise a priority. Okay. So getting a little bit more specific in terms of aerobic activity, just to give you guys examples of things that you can do. We have things like brisk walking, playing tennis. I play pickleball. That's one form of aerobic activity. Doing things around the house. Maybe that doesn't come to mind. You always, when you think of exercise, you think about going to the gym, but simply getting movement throughout your day and your home by doing chores, doing the laundry, cooking. These are all good ways to incorporate a little bit more aerobic activity in your day. And, you know, it's getting I would say it's getting a little more challenging these days because they always come out with technology that's trying to make our lives much more simple where we don't have to move as much, right? So maybe you're trying to make a cake and you have an electric mixer instead of doing it by hand. So we have all these things that are making our lives easier, making us want to sit more, but we want to make sure that we're challenging ourselves in some way to get up on our feet and move. So we have these different types of training. We have flexibility, aerobic, and strength training. I'm going to share with you a couple factors related to each. So types of training, we have flexibility. This one goes a little bit more specific on how long you can hold a stretch. So if you're doing like a hamstring stretch in this picture here, I always recommend if you're starting out, it's good to start on the low end. So maybe you start incorporating 10 seconds of stretching throughout the day. And then that's something where you can work up to 30 seconds where you're stretching any muscles that feel tight for you. A good tip is choose one stretch to do throughout the week and stay consistent with it. So maybe you don't know many stretches. Consider learning one stretch that you can do and start practicing a lot more. Research stretches you are confident in doing that have low intensity, and you can start creating a stretching plan for yourself. So you know that maybe Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you have more consistent time where you exercise. So you're starting to develop a plan. And the best tip is, of course, consult with someone who knows how to stretch the body, and then you're able to progress from there. Out of curiosity, does anybody here have like a stretching routine that you do? I know Barbara does, maybe it's a little bit in the chair.
Yeah, I do. I go to a masseuse, and she unscrews all my joints and screws them back in for me. But she's very good at. She's taught me several different stretches that I do, and if I don't do it, I know it.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody?
Yeah,
Thank you, Dan.
I do yoga stretches too. That's actually the only thing that gets me out of bed because I just I have to do at least 10, 15, 20 minutes of just yoga stretches in bed. And then another one, you know, after I'm done with my prayers, and then before I get on the elliptical. So I do a lot of stretches. Otherwise I can't bend. I can't do a lot of things if I don't stretch.
Sure. Yeah. So no, thank you for
Yeah,
sharing both.
I do yoga stretches as well.
You do yoga
I
as
do
well?
yoga stretches as well. Yeah, but I don't do it daily though. Unfortunately, I do it once a week. But yeah, yoga with Adrian on YouTube, that's before I use my way.
That's a very popular channel. Yeah, I've seen that one before. So yeah, so you guys can see how yoga is a great form of stretching. So I'm happy that you guys have some routine for that. And as all three of you mentioned, you notice a difference when you go days without stretching, right? Your body definitely tells you that, hey, it's time to stretch. So flexibility becomes much more. It's always important, but it becomes much more important as we're aging. So thank you guys for sharing. Then we have aerobic activity, anything that's going to challenge our heart again. So we mentioned that a little bit earlier. Examples include walking, cycling, swimming. You can also do this with weights. If you do lighter weights and you just lift them for a faster tempo, you can get into aerobic training as well. And this reduces your risk for heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, things that are really elevated for most people these days. Just incorporating 30 minutes for 5 days of aerobic activity is a good way to combat that. So a good tip is start to increase your daily walks. One of the most powerful exercises that you can do. Why I love walks is that it's easy to incorporate, and many of us don't get the recommended amount of steps each day. So I want you to take a moment right now and ask, how many steps am I taking right now? Maybe you don't know the exact number. Maybe you can ask yourself, how long am I walking for throughout the day? And your next question is, how can I increase my daily step count? Do I need to park a little bit farther when I get to work? Do I need to maybe ask my family if they want to go for a walk after having lunch or having dinner? And so you can find that there's simple ways that you can just start to increase your daily step count throughout the day, and it makes a huge difference over time. A better tip, buy a gym pass and use the equipment, and they have a lot of equipment to offer, like treadmills, spin bikes, elliptical machines, or you can do what Sohaila did, and you can invest in your own, so that way it's in your home, it's right there in front of you, easier to access, right, when it's in our home. And then the best tip is speak with your physician about any concerns around aerobic exercise, making sure you always get the green light before starting a new exercise program. and then learn how to properly use the equipment for safety. And then a little bonus for you guys. I learned this one from, if you know Dawn Watson in Rancho Cucamonga from Healing Strong, she actually introduced me to rebounding. And this was such a cool concept. I actually started rebounding for, oops, I lost the slide, didn't I? Let's go back. I started rebounding in the morning. And what rebounding is good for, it's for getting the lymphatic fluid throughout the body, which is in charge of our immune system. So whenever we get stagnant with our lymphatic movement, that's where we can develop, illness and disease. So we want to make sure that we're getting, that's why walking and getting the movement, the body pumping is important for circulation. Rebounding is specifically good for moving the lymphatic fluid. So you might see that people buy what's called reformers. So these mini trampolines that they can jump on. And so doing that balancing effect is actually really beneficial for circulation. Now, for some people, they don't have the room for these in their homes. But what you can do is you can actually do rebounding just standing up with no equipment. So maybe you're standing and you're just in the morning, you're outside, you have your feet on the grass and you're just doing a light shake. I have a resource for that one, a video that I'll make sure I include in the resources so you guys can see that and even practice it on your own. But just getting up and shaking the body in the morning is a good way to improve your circulation. So I wanted to make sure I included that in here. Good tip, practice.
I'm sorry, just
Yeah.
a quick question. Is there a I guess a specific time that's recommended to do that? Because we have a trampoline, but I didn't realize the benefit our kids were getting outside of myself.
Sure. Yeah, well, that's specifically anything above 0 minutes would be beneficial. So if you can commit to 5 minutes and 5 minutes works for your schedule, 5 minutes is going to be beneficial for you. If you can go up to 6 minutes, 10 minutes, that's going to be good. I would say 10 minutes really is a max, but try to go for at least, 5 minutes would be a good time for rebounding. Good question. Better tip, invest in a rebounder trampoline. So you can buy the equipment, and then the best tip is, speak with your physician before starting any exercise routine, which is always going to be the best tip. But I'll make sure I include that resource in the video for you guys. Then we have strength training. So for this one, resistance training, like as I mentioned, this is a cornerstone to when I'm training my clients, or I'm making sure that they have some form of strength training in their routine. A minimum of 2 days a week is enough to see significant change in your lean muscle tissue, to see a change in your body fat percentage, and you just tend to feel really strong after doing strength training for a couple of weeks. For this one, as I mentioned, you can do body weight exercises, that's fine. But over time, you're going to want to start to increase your challenge by using weights. You can use things like resistance bands, dumbbells, using the machines that you can find in your gym. These are all good ways to really challenge your body. So a question for you is, you can ask yourself, how can I start to incorporate more strength training into my routine? Can I start with at least 1 day a week? And if I can, which day works better for me? It's always good to have somebody teach you good form and how to actually do the exercises so you're getting the most results. So for some people, they might even hire a trainer for an hour and say, hey, I want you to teach me how to do this exercise or teach me how to squat better. That's going to be well worth your time if you do that. That was our strength training. Okay, and a couple ways to, as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to put some practical tips for you guys on how do you increase your motivation to exercise. Someone said it a little bit earlier, having a friend to walk with or a friend to work out with is helpful because that gives you an accountability partner. So I always encourage, find a friend or find a family member who wants to support you on this journey, and maybe they have similar goals as you do. This is where apps such as Meetup, there's other websites for that, but where you're able, Facebook groups are another one where you're able to find local groups who are kind of into what you're into. So that might be walking groups, it could be running groups, groups that are into fitness, and then you can start to connect with people who are going to send you that text message and say, hey, let's get to the gym today, or let's go get our workout in. So it's important to have a community. And remember, guys, if you feel like, you know what, right now I don't have anybody, just remember I'm always here for support. So I have a newsletter that I send out, and everyone, it's a good community. So if you feel like you need a little support, I'm always here to support you, to answer your questions. So please don't feel like you don't have any support right now. Okay, posture check. I like to talk. So we're talking about balance. Actually, posture is really important for incorporating balance with movement. So we're really big on raising awareness when it comes to posture. As I tell my clients, if we're out of balance with our posture, consider if we're really hunched forward. So, we're always kind of on our computer these days, or we're driving, or shoulders are rounded forward. To exaggerate, if we're really rounded forward like this, that's a lot of compression for our organs, for our heart, for our lungs. And even trying to breathe in this posture, you're not able to really get that full diaphragmatic breath. Your lungs aren't able to fill to their full capacity. So you might see that some people have that forward pull posture. So we do a lot of work on improving the posture through strength training exercises. We can do that through stretching as well. But when we find that we sit up more upright, and maybe you guys can even feel this in your own body, we tend to feel a little bit more confident in ourselves, right? When we have better posture, and it's also good for our health. So I wanted to make sure I included a note on posture in here. So you guys will get this in your slide too. I always like to share the graph, and people find that graph really interesting. Okay, so let's put this all together. This is your official plan on what to do going forward. So if you feel like I didn't have any plan at all, this is what you can start with. So just incorporating more physical activity. I invite you guys to write down a list of activities you want to do more of, especially if it's joyful making for you. So if you'd like to do it, start to incorporate that throughout your week. We talked about flexibility. What happens when we don't stretch? Our body tells us that it's time to stretch out. So you can ask, how many days am I willing to stretch? What stretches do I want to practice? Are my hips tight? Do I need more hip stretches? Is my neck really tight right now? Maybe I need a really good neck stretch. At what time of the day works best for you? For some of you, maybe before bedtime is a good time. Some of you might have better time on your lunch break that you want to stretch while you're at work. You can do that as well. Aerobic training. What are your opportunities for aerobic exercises that we discussed earlier? How many days per week do I need to do that? And you guys can use that structure I gave you a little bit earlier, 30 minutes a day. If that feels a little bit too much, remember, you can always start with 10 minutes and you can work up to that time. For how long do you need to do it for? And then we have strength training, which is really good for the body. What can I do for strength training? What equipment can I buy? So maybe you're like, hey, you know what? I want to buy a spin bike or I want to buy equipment for my house as well. So do I need more dumbbells? Do I need medicine balls? Do I need a kettlebell? There's so much equipment out there that's relatively inexpensive that you can get, and it's going to be good for challenging you. How many days a week and for how long do I do strength training for? And then coming to the conclusion, I do have these extra resources that I always give out after my presentation. So you might have a specific question of how does exercise relate to high blood pressure? How does it relate to diabetes? If you're experiencing any sort of illness right now, I do have resources that give you a little bit more deeper guideline than what I can cover in today's talk. But that does bring us to the end. But I wanted to open up today and ask, what kind of questions did you guys have as I was going over these topics, if any?
How much does the rebounding trampoline, what do they usually run?
That's a good question, Diane, because I probably would love to get one for my studio as well. I've seen them, if I remember correctly, I've seen like the high brand ones are like in the couple hundreds.
Mm-hmm.
Probably on average, like a decent one would be a little over 100. I don't see them being under that. But if you're going to use that, it's really a great tool to have. What I'd recommend is try to do the body weight, try to just do body weight, no equipment, and try to make that a routine. And if you do that and you're like, hey, this actually feels really good for me, and I want to get a little bit more out of this exercise, then I'd recommend potentially investing in a rebounder. And some of them also fold up too, so sometimes storage isn't even a challenge. You can just place that behind a couch or something. So yeah, around that.
You're saying I to start with the strength training first and then?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So you would start with rebounding just body weight. So
no weights or anything. Yeah.
No rebounder. So you're just doing body weight. I should say no equipment. So if you're
Yeah.
just doing this,
Okay.
just kind of wake up in the morning and start like a little routine where you're just shaking out.
Yeah.
And you're getting a little bit looser. That's a good routine. And then after a while, you're like, hey, you know what? I want to get a little bit more out of this exercise. Then you can invest in a rebounder.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Anybody else have a question? I know I covered a lot. I didn't want to throw too much at you. And again, you guys are going to get this presentation.
A question.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, when is it a good time to do pre-workouts? Like if this was something that we're starting on a day-to-day, right?
Sure.
When is it okay to say, oh, cool, I'm gonna take a pre-workout, and when is it not? When is it like, maybe not? Maybe this is okay to just do with the mere energy I have.
Got you. Okay. When it comes to pre-workout, have you taken it before?
You know, I used to be, it used to
Yeah.
be part of my regimen, but
Okay.
now the amount of exercise that I do is so minimal
Okay.
that the motivation is lacking. So I think, should I do a pre-workout just to get me to a space where I want to do something? I'm trying to see if I can trick my brain into getting that reset button going, but I'm unsure if I should go in that direction because it's been so long.
Got you. Okay. So there's a little bit of uncertainty right now of where to start with that, it sounds like. What I would invite you to consider is see what happens when you start this exercising, this program that you want to, get back into, this routine that you want to get back into, and see how your body responds without taking anything. Focusing on nutrition. And if you feel like my energy is actually getting better because I'm starting to exercise more, which tends to happen regardless. So you might find that, hey, my energy is fine enough that I don't need anything. I don't need a stimulant, or I don't need to take pre-workout. Then you may start to do your exercise without that. Pre-workout could be helpful during those days where it's like, this is tough. I'm really tired. I'm really tired today. Although I would also say during those times, sometimes doing a working in exercise might be more beneficial for you, because working in tends to be energy increasing instead of, let's say, draining your body afterwards, like doing an intense workout. Maybe you go for a walk and afterwards your energy is a little bit better after that. So I would consider using working in during those times where you feel just really tired during the day, and see what happens.
Awesome. Thank you.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
Ray, I have kind of an answer that has worked for me, for Andrea.
Sure.
Andrea and
Yeah,
I
please.
talk all the time, but I'm not sure if she's heard me, do this, share this with her. I think when you were talking about, working in, and you probably don't want to get too fluffy with the conversations about spirituality and, meditation and stuff. But I honestly think that to get to that right state of mind, you need to bring in the force of the universe around you, right? So how do you connect and how do you get that in? The physical exercise is wonderful, but what I've found about yoga and stretching is that, and those meditations, even those little verses or hymns that you could just repeat to yourself, allows your mind to settle in, allows your body and mind to be aligned. And it creates an atmosphere of almost addiction. It's a high that you just want to do. Talk about motivation. Honestly, that getting up hour or an hour early in the morning, I wouldn't do it for anything. I mean, we decided to not have children because both of us loved sleeping in. The only thing that has really put me into that discipline is just finding that motivation that is beyond me. It's like I have this commitment to throw these meditations into the universe because I need that energy all day long. And I think that that's something that I know you believe in, and I know many of the people who are with us will not be offended, to just bring in that meditation into the overall workout and work in.
I love that, Sohaila. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you bring an excellent point. And if I can expand on that a little bit. When it comes to working in, that's actually a great, if you want to have a spiritual practice, combining that with a work in routine, and so Sohaila mentioned a specific form of yoga for that. That's amazing. You can also incorporate that into any form of working in movement. So I have an exercise that I teach my clients, which are called breathing squats, where they're focusing on breathing with the movement. So they're standing up and they're taking a nice deep breath in the body, And as they breathe out, they're coming down nice and slow to a level that they can do depending on their flexibility. And they're breathing in, they're lifting up. Now, either they can meditate during this time. So maybe for them, it's saying an affirmation to themselves that they created and that they really like to do. Because as we find, when people think of meditation, there are those who can't sit still and meditate because their minds are racing 1,000 miles a minute, and they just say they can't sit still. They're fidgeting a lot. Doing a moving meditation such as a breathing squat, or going for a slow walk, or doing yoga where they're able to focus on their breath is super powerful for those individuals. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're someone who really struggles with being still and trying to meditate and focus on your breath, I invite you to try a working in exercise such as what Hala mentioned, yoga, and try to connect with yourself and ask yourself those big questions when it comes to spirituality. Those are great times to do that because you're able to communicate with yourself and you have that spiritual connection. So I thank you, Sohaila, for bringing that up. That's so important.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
on top of it, I think connecting to the air, to the, have something in front of it, even if it's a plant or if it's something. I look out the window and I think that those little birds and, little nature helps me calm down. I'm a very high-strung person, and my mind, as you said, is racing very fast. But that's the only way that I could get myself to just. And your breathing techniques that you mentioned, yeah, it's very helpful. I recommend it to anyone.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you. And I agree with you. More nature time is always good. Did anybody have any before we wrap up today, did anyone have any further questions for me? You guys asked amazing questions, by the way. Thank you for pointing that out because I know there's people who are gonna watch this and they're like, I had that same question. So thank you guys so much.
Thank
I just
you
wanted
very
to say that I'm a physician, and actually I pretty much tell my patients to do everything you just mentioned, but in a shorter period of time. I can't really expand as much as you did, but yeah, all of that I think is super important, and I'm very happy that that's what you're teaching your clients. But yeah, I am retiring, so I'm planning to actually. One of the reasons why I'm retiring, because I'm planning to incorporate these type of routines into my daily schedule so I can improve my overall health.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you're considering your routine going forward after retiring, because it's a big change in routine. A lot of people don't think about is after you're done with working, your whole routine changes, and so you're already planning ahead for that. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And thank you for your presentation.
Ray, what do you have any thoughts on what they call grounding? Whether they say go outside, take your shoes off, and walk in the grass, and or at the beach and walk.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think there's something to it. There's always conflicting viewpoints and studies on it, but we know that nature's powerful. We know that nature's good for our health. So if you get your feet on grass, or if you're near the beach, or you like being near water, that has a huge impact on our mental health and physical health as well. So that is why I encourage my clients to get more outdoor time. You're outside, you're getting some sunlight, which is good. So yeah, if you can get your feet on grass, it's a good way to connect with nature. It's a good way to connect to your body, especially if you pair that with something such as breathing, doing Tai Chi, doing yoga outdoors. So to answer your question, Diane, yeah, absolutely. Try to get more outdoor time and touch some grass.
Yeah.
It's good for you. Get your feet on the grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Do you do that? Out of curiosity, do you do that, Diane?
Not as often as I should. No, but
Okay.
yeah. That's something that I could do more of. Make
Sounds good.
the time to do that.
I'm gonna challenge you a little bit if I can.
Okay.
I want you to email me a picture next time you're outdoors. You just take a picture of the sky and say,
Okay.
I am grounded. I want to see that.
Okay. Well, actually,
Okay.
I'm when I'm at my daughter's house 3 days a week. Both my daughter and son-in-law work, so I'm there helping with the kids. And one of the things that I do outside is the dog takes me for a walk.
He takes you.
Yeah, he takes me for a
He
walk.
walks you.
Yeah, he walks
That is a good dog. That's a good.
Yeah, so I am outside doing that, but I could be out more.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. And then that's where we go back to our question in terms of what is it my body needs today? We always have that conversation with ourselves. And that's how you start to, over time, slowly start to change your routine. You look back a year from now and you're like, wow, look how far I've come. Look how much more that I'm doing. And you didn't have to make any radical changes to do that. Yeah,
Thank
wonderful
you.
questions. Yeah, any closing thoughts, any closing comments, guys? Please.
Well, I just want to say how grateful we are that you agreed to present, and we hope that we can work again together, with our organization, with a lot of things you're doing. Hope you have more presentations for us.
I am always open to more future collaborations, especially if it's around getting healthier. So absolutely, Sohaila, and I'd hope to see you guys in person one of these days in any upcoming events. So thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate your time today, and I'll make sure I include any resources for those of you who attended, and also anyone who watches these videos in the future.
Thank you, Ray. I really enjoyed your talk.